Hello, my name is Mariano Avila. I am the executive producer for Shaping Narratives.
And I'm Sherisse Szymczak, and I am the media and performance coach for Shaping Narratives. And we're about to take you on a look behind the scenes of what was more than 30 weeks of hard work.
We took community leaders of color and gave them the training so that they could create their own TV shows and control their own narrative.
That's right, tell their own stories in their own voices.
And we want to start with George Walker III, who created cultural ingredients.
Eating's a delight. It's a community builder. It's great for posts and conversations. But we rarely stop and think about the culinary history, the geopolitics, and the agricultural development that each dish and ingredient has taken in order to land on our plates. My name's George Walker III. I'm a sommelier and all-around lover of food. And I think about this stuff so much that I decided to make a show of it. Today, we're cooking Mexican and Haitian, using an ingredient from an ancient civilization and another with a complex agricultural history. Join me as I learn about cultural ingredients.
At the heart of each Shaping Narratives show is the host. George Walker III has designed cultural ingredients around his passion for food, which he's been cultivating for a decade.
George. The host. The host with the most. What did we just wrap, George?
So we just wrapped up the first part of the shoot here at Supermercado. We were focused on Mocancles. And then, for cultural ingredients. So look out for it. Super excited. I'm super happy. Thank you. This is awesome.
First shoot.
Yes.
It's a wrap.
All right, so we're back. So we're here. Wait, I'm going to start over. Right.
We're here on the set of George's show at Chez Olga, and we have had such a great day of filming.
An amazing day.
How did it go? We wrapped. How did it go?
It was amazing. I mean, it was so awesome getting their story. It was so awesome eating that crazy, amazing food. It was a good day.
You got a big chance to do a lot of cooking, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your culinary background and how that prepared you for this?
Right, yeah. So actually, I've been in culinary since I was about 16. Went to a tech center in high school and started cooking then. Found a passion for it. Ended up going to culinary school and majoring in food and beverage management. So I was outside of the kitchen, but found the need to kind of be still digging in the kitchen. So I'd go around to different restaurants and stage, essentially like volunteer at different restaurants just to be able to actually keep myself acclimated and kind of get the dust the rust off. So yeah, I've been really entwined in the culinary space and cooking up until recently when I kind of dipped into the sommelier, that is.
You've also seen two very different styles of cooking. So what are some of the things that you've learned from each?
Yeah, oh my gosh. Cooking methods it's interesting, right? Because cooking methods are pretty much similar across the board as far as how to do a small dice and kind of how to cut things and things of that sort. The only difference is kind of like the ingredient they use and how they use that particular ingredient.
Mezzo and Chez Olga are as different as wazantle and plantain, or pan-searing and deep frying. But it's the story behind the people, dishes, and ingredients that extends this show beyond a how-to and into a discovery of roots and culture. Speaking of roots, it's time to take a look at our second show, Ngiwe, and our next host, Lynn Thomas.
My name is Lynn Thomas, and I'm a citizen of the Little Traverse Bay Bands of Odawa Indians. I live in the country, I work in the city, and have raised 4 kids. After years of working for Native causes like teaching Native children, serving on tribal council, and being a water protector at Standing Rock, I realized that what I'm up against is 500 years of colonialism. I can't go back to how it was before the Europeans floated in, but I sure can't keep drifting away from who I am. So I'm on a journey to reclaim as much as I can from my ancestors and leave as much as I can for my descendants. In a sense, I'm going home, but I have to leave my comforts to do it. So I'm off. to learn as much as I can, but it's going to take me a second to explain how this journey landed me holding a knife to the rear end of a buffalo.
Our hosts are community storytellers, but just because they understand the protocol in a community doesn't mean their crew does. This means we have to perform with a higher degree of cultural sensitivity and awareness.
So there's a lot of jokes and stereotypes about different minority communities being late. With Native folks, I've found that it really isn't about late or not late. It's more about like things happen when they happen and when it's the right social moment for them to happen.
Yeah.
And there's like spirituality attached to some of those.
Right, because I think we have so much protocol involved in interacting with our community. It's not just busting in and saying, hey, we're going to be here at 3 o'clock, we need you ready. It's moving into their space, realizing what they're up against, because everyone here isn't here for us. They're here for their own thing, and we're just trying to amplify what they're trying to do in this community. And so, yeah, we have to be respectful that they are here. This is secondary. Primary is the reason they're here, either to learn, to cook, to teach.
The level of trust in both directions that has to be developed for this kind of programming is not quite walking through fire, but maybe potentially poisoning oneself.
Okay, what is this? What is it called and what does it do?
Trout leaf.
Trout leaf. Doesn't taste like what? Trout.
It's trout leaf because it's spotted like a trout.
Oh, I was hoping that was natural to the plant, so thanks for confirming that. Because otherwise it's like, what fell on it?
Pesticide? That's what I was thinking about the dandelions. I hope they didn't spray for pesticides.
It's the woods.
Comes in like a grape, leaves like a throat punch.
Grape punch.
Bitter.
I thank you for sharing your throat punch.
You're welcome.
Unstoppable, hottest topic I know, hottest topic I know. Who is she? Who is she? Yeah, you already know. And since we're talking about queens, yeah,
We've traveled all the way to the United Kingdom to come film in a Gurdwara, and Mariano set this up and organized it. It's been working on it for a while, and I wanted to know from you why we didn't just shoot in a Gurdwara that we have locally in Michigan or anywhere else in the United States.
The Gurdwara that we're in for this shoot here in Slough, England, is one of the ones that has the most programming in the Western Hemisphere. And so this is basically the best that we could hope for.
And also, Rishi's got a special connection here, which we'll get into later. And I just want to talk about constraints and other situations that arise when you're filming in a space of cultural and religious significance. There are a lot of factors you have to take into account that you wouldn't have to usually in other shoots.
Absolutely. For example, I'm not shaving. And that's part of the Sikh religion, is one does not shave one's face or cut one's hair. So since we've arrived as a way to honor and respect our hosts, I haven't shaved at all. So you get this.
Speaking of our hosts, when you usually set up a shoot, we'll typically just call somebody and say, hey, is it okay to shoot in your space? This is what our project looks like, and they kind of agree yes or no. Was that the situation here?
Yes, with about 2 years of pre-work ahead of time. So we've been building a relationship through other programs that we've shot with this community. And when I say this community, it's the community both in Michigan and in England. And so that connection has been built over the course of 2 years, 2 different shows that we've shot before this one, and then being invited into the Gurdwara to do this particular show.
And that's a really unique experience, so I'm excited to get started.
My name is Rishi Singh. I'm a small business owner, husband, father, and a practicing member of the Sikh faith. And you know, I'm tired of the hatred that I see between different faith communities, because intolerance can be deadly. In Michigan, where I live, 2 Sikh men were shot because their attackers had assumptions about our beards and turbans. 1 victim died. So I'm making a TV show to tell you all about my faith and to explore the faiths of others. See, when Sikhism started 550 years ago in India, one of our core values has been to defend other people's right to practice their own faith. Now, I know the purpose of my life. In Sikhism, it's meeting God while you're alive. And I believe there is divinity in every human being, So join me and let's see where God meets us. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad.
Being out of one's comfort zone doesn't always require a transatlantic flight, and for people of color in the US, just being outdoors can feel uncomfortable. Exploring historic and personal reasons for this discomfort and what we can do to change that narrative is Alice Lynn, host of Color Out Here.
Nature. It's where the smallest things can broaden my perspective, where I can just be. But not all people of color have the same relationship with the outdoors. For many Black and brown people, the outdoors is historically complex in these United States. So I'm making this show to bring other people of color outside and to experience familiar places from a new perspective. My name is Alice Lynn, and today we are filming the pilot for my show Color Out Here.
We're here in Idlewild, Michigan, and we are filming Alice's show.
A show about the outdoors and how people of color interact with those narratives.
We were talking a lot when filming these shows about relationship building before you get out here. Can you talk about what that process was like before we came to Idlewild?
For Idlewild, we came here because there's a lot of history in the African American community of how this place was built. It was a resort for affluent and prominent African Americans. We showed up to scout this location, and one of the community members asked us what we were doing and basically said, if you want any kind of buy-in from the community, you need to show up at one of our city commission meetings. So we came out here, that was like on a Friday or something, we came out on that next Tuesday. There we made some connections. We had to come back 2 or 3 more times and talk to a lot of people along the way. So this was a very intentional and very, staggered process of talk to this person who introduces you to that one and just kind of keep the relationship
Right,
building.
and at that meeting that I was at, I heard a lot of the reasons people weren't feeling too excited about us coming in and filming is because people have done that before, and then when the final product came out, it wasn't representing what they wanted it to.
Which is really about the history of how this was built up as an African American oasis. And then in desegregation in the 60s, late 60s, the economy tanked a lot of African American financial sectors. This being one of them, because, well, now people with money who were black could go anywhere. And frankly, people are doing a lot to, keep it alive, but also to, give it another boom with the new economy in a different era.
But nobody focuses on that.
No.
It's not good TV.
It's not good TV, so we're making different TV.
And so what is Alice's purpose? Why is she here?
So Alice wanted to talk about decolonizing the narrative of a particular space. People of color, we talk a lot about it. We're not huge into the outdoors. It's not something that is marketed to us, but it's also not something that we seek.
It
for
is not.
various reasons.
It is not.
And she wants to change that. She wants to make sure that people of color feel comfortable in the outdoors and doing outdoors activities. And this beautiful lake just has not been, I think, a focal point for at least black folks for a generation. And so she invited us to come here. We connected with some folks from here. And the story that we're trying to tell now is the story of a community heavily invested in the outdoors and trying to bring some culture and life into So it's a community that's trying to bring a lot of life back into this space, both in the outdoors and in culture, arts, and just events. So it's a really fun place to be. It brings a lot of those elements together of decolonizing the narrative and reclaiming the space.
Okay, real talk for a second.
Yeah.
The bugs out here are insane.
How do you feel about those wasps?
They were freaking huge. They were this big. They're like 3 inches long.
I showed up and I got some of the craziest bug bites of my life in 5 minutes. I like this lake, but I would love to look at it through a pretty glass while I'm inside in an air-conditioned building. Besides that, what do you think it is that other people of color don't like about being in outdoor spaces?
We heard some really cool conversations between David and Daryl, and it basically, as we talk through this ominous thunder, it's really, so, it's not a safe space historically speaking. For Native Americans, outdoors is where folks got hunted. Black slaves were caught, outdoors or lynched outdoors during Jim Crow era. Right now, Mexican immigrants and Central American immigrants are crossing through deserts and wilderness and being caught there. So it's just not a space that we associate with leisure. It's a space that we either associate with labor, as being labor out there, whether it's picking crops or picking cotton or whatever, or with danger. There's just not a whole lot inviting us historically.
Right.
There's no reason to go. And yeah, the bugs are horrible, but I think the canoe trip that we went on for this shoot was one of the most awesome experiences I've had in the outdoors in my life. It was a wonderful experience. We're building community.
Okay, well, it's been a really great experience shooting out here, and I think the weather is calling it.
Yes, it is. All right. Thanks for showing up, y'all.
Thank you for showering.
Sorry.
Hey,
In 1997 was the year of my family's great migration. We moved to Baltimore, Maryland from Nairobi, Kenya, and we're blessed to have both family and friends to welcome us to this new country and to a new way of life. The first thing I noticed, there were so many white people everywhere. And this was just at the airport. Our apartment was just shy of a mile from school, which meant we couldn't take the bus. And we had to walk.
The one show we didn't have to deal with the weather or bugs or intense travel schedules or long hours of shooting was on our podcast, The Black Honest Truth. Christine Mwangi, the host, set out to explore Black identity, nuancing between the African American experience and the African immigrant experience. And now we're here on set, Christine's podcast taping, and we did things a little differently this way because we weren't actually creating a TV show, were we?
No, this is a podcast called
The Black Honest Truth,
and it explores
the various experiences that African immigrants and Black Americans have in America navigating spaces as Black people. It is the entryway that I had to assuming a Black identity in America. Although I'm perceived to have one, I didn't know I had one because I came from a different country where racial divisiveness was not a thing. So it's important to lay that foundation for all listeners so that as they continue to follow us through this journey, they understand how it too started for me.
Because the podcast only features Christine and one guest, selecting that guest involved conversations with several people. So how have you been thinking of story differently for your podcast?
I have first been very encouraged that people have a lifetime worth of story to tell. So I am very encouraged that people have content. Now we need to shape how that content is delivered and how much and when it is delivered. So it's better to have more than less, and it just goes to show how rich people's journeys are as it pertains to this topic, how relevant it is and how important it is for those that want to interact and engage with them in our community to understand that to be Black is such a complex thing. And that is the essence of why we're here. So the fact that they want to tell a whole story is not discouraging to me. Rather, I want to pick moments in their life that we can explore and find commonalities or differences and explore why those exist.
I find it very interesting, the working dynamic between the two of you specifically, because Mariano is all about the script.
Yes.
And Christine is all about just feeling it real and it's up here.
Yes.
So how are we going to navigate this in the future to finish the rest of this episode?
Mariano?
Oh, you're deferring to me.
Yes.
So I don't know. I think we're just going to have to talk through what works for you.
Yes.
And what works for you may not be what works for everybody else, but you have a very definite story with a very key, powerful moment that kind of launches into other parts of your life. And how you tell that in the constraints, particularly time-wise, of your format, is something you're going to have to decide. Like, how do you choose that moment? How does that moment relate to this moment? And what are the stakes of it? And what does it mean now?
Sure. And I really like the idea of an outline. I like having topics or bullet points of ideas that I explore in sequential order during the podcast, but would like to reserve the creative spirit to allow me to authentically live in the moment. Because as I mentioned before, there have been times where I genuinely don't even know what to expect when I tell this story because I've never been given a platform to do so before. And I will imagine my guests will be in that space as well. So if we can help them come up with an outline that at least guides the flow of the conversation, but allow them those in-between spaces to just be and feel their story and feel all the things that come with telling the story, I think is key for the authenticity of the storytelling aspect of the podcast.
Then that's how we'll do it.
See? Honest Black and brown truth.
That's right. Can I get a little of that?
Yes.
A little of that from you guys?
Yes.
Well, it's fun, Christine. I have fun being on set with you.
Thank you, Sherisse. I enjoy your poise because I have none of it.
No, please.
Oh, jeez. Come on.
You're so poised and put together.
Well, thanks for sharing your stories with us.
Yes, I'm honored. I'm honored for the opportunity, and I'm honored to have a chance to tell stories that haven't previously been told, to empower those that are socializing in this community with different Black identities who have probably before now not heard or seen themselves in common or mainstream media platforms. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for telling and for helping us be part of it.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
And I have to say, I'm really proud of the way these pilot episodes turned out. And we're back at Mexo in one of the locations where we shot George's show.
Cultural ingredients, and it's perfectly appropriate, I think, because we're taking studio resources, which was the idea behind all of this, and taking it back to the community where it can have its own life as a conversation.
Yeah, which reminds me of Lynn's show, where she was able to explore her heritage in that way through food and through her land and learn so much about her background and hopefully pass that on to future generations.
Yeah, and that helps us connect ourselves to the land and to spirituality, which is how she sees it. And that was wonderful to watch her explore her spirituality with Rishi in England in his setting. That was fantastic.
That was really amazing to see. And then speaking of settings, maybe the hardest one for us to shoot because we don't love going outside, was seeing how Alice brought people of color into the outdoors, which
with
is something
all
that
the
is
mosquito
with
bites.
all of the bites of everything. Yes, that was That was a tough one for both of us who prefer to look at the outside from the comfort of the inside.
Speaking of the inside, the one that didn't have any mosquito bites was the podcast, because that was shot entirely indoors.
Christine,
and she's exploring the difference in experiences between African American and African people who share blackness as an identity. And that's a conversation that I'm really looking forward to hearing as she takes it out into the community.
That's a great conversation, and not one that I've heard people discussing in the past. And it's great that she's brought that to light.
Or that we'd be privy to, really. It's not part of our identity, and so being able to hear how that plays out and maybe learn something ourselves. And that's the point of shaping narratives and each one of these shows.
Starting conversations, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, let's have that conversation.
Support for Shaping Narratives comes from the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with Communities Where Children Come First.